Have you ever thought about what really is the key to happiness? The secret to happiness? I think I have, and I don't like it. It has a lot to do with things like desire. And speaking of desire, the desire for a more positive experience is itself a negative experience. And paradoxically, the acceptance of one's own negative experience is itself a positive. You think about that quote. You may have heard of it. It's one of the many quotes in this really popular book that you'd see on any shelf of a coffee shop. It's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a it's a classic for people who want to read performatively, it's for surface level shit. So anyway, this type of thinking is actually synonymous with the many studies done on happiness. Even long before the school of psychology, we had Greek philosophers, Buddhists, and Tibetan monks thousands of years ago trying to unlock the secret of happiness. And of course, the psychologists of today too are part of this searching, and all of them reach this truth, this exact truth that the desire for things that make you happy is more than likely to make you unhappy. Why is this? It seems counterintuitive, no? Yes, it is counterintuitive. How? Well, a relentless pursuit of happiness can paradoxically lead to things like increased anxiety, disappointment, and depression. Why? Because it creates unrealistic expectations and a focus on what is missing or what is lacking from one's life. The idea that we should pursue happiness is a modern day religious creed that is taught to us as if it is a fundamental human right. It is treated as a lifelong goal. You know how we are bombarded with messages like a good life is a happy one, and that a happy one is a life filled with pleasure, success, and validation. But if we take a closer look at this pursuit, we'll start to find this counterintuitive truth. The harder we try to be happy, the more likely we are to fail in trying. Why is that? Well, the core of this problem lies in the very nature of human desire. We operate under this assumption that if we could only fulfill our wants, if we could only get that promotion, or buy that house, or find that perfect relationship, then we would find lasting peace. But again, this is false. It is a misconception, a fallacy. Why is it a fallacy? It is because what we are truly experiencing is a cycle of yearning. Yearning? Yearning? Yeah. But how? It is because the satisfaction of one desire only gives rise to a new one, and this constant state of yearning ensures our inner peace is just a little out of reach. So it could be said that this perpetual yearning is the engine of our own unhappiness, the reason why we are never truly content with what we have, because we are always looking and always searching at what we lack in our lives. Okay, so what is this phenomenon called? Well, science has given it a name. It's called the hedonic treadmill. This theory states that humans have a stable baseline level of happiness, and major life events, whether positive or negative, only temporarily shift our mood before we eventually return back to our starting point. You want an example of this? Well, consider something like the thrill of buying a new car or landing a major promotion. First, there is an initial rush of joy, but then it inevitably fades as we adapt to our new situation. What happens next is the new car becomes just a car, the promotion becomes the new normal, and then the cycle repeats itself as we are then forced to seek the next source of pleasure, just like us running faster on the treadmill just to stay in the same place. Whether you like it or not, this flaw is actually embedded culturally as it flows into our personal mindsets. Culturally embedded? What do I mean by that? Well, in Western societies, there is this never-ending drive for ambition as well as this expectation of joy as the normal, which are deeply programmed. They are then taught to be exceptional and to constantly strive for more. And yes, this mindset has definitely led to some prosperity, like for example, the United States, which by the way is the richest nation in the history of the world. This is a well-known fact. And yet there is little evidence to suggest that its citizens are on average happier. Why? Well, would you believe me if I told you that that was the point all along? How? Well, American culture itself promotes ambition and dissatisfaction, which in turn increases productivity and consumption. So this creates wealth at scale, which is good for the economy. But it also traps individuals in cycles of striving without any resolution. The system efficiently converts restlessness into economic growth. So it could be said that yearning itself drives the economy. And the economy wants you to keep yearning in order for it to function. Due to this culture of ambition and dissatisfaction, the US currently holds the most billionaires out of every country. To be rich is to be glorious indeed, but the billionaire is another type of misguided person, this time by wealth. We know that he does not need these things, for a man with 10 houses still sleeps in one bed. He is a gluttonous person who hoards wealth as if they could feed his hunger. Yet this desire is never met. Nothing is ever enough for him. Enough. I want you to look at this word. Enough. This is the key to contentment. So now, we've seen that the cultures that prioritize the good things in life and getting those good things almost always leave dissatisfied. And did you know that those same cultures with good things feed on people's unhappiness in order to sustain themselves? Yes. As we know, growth needs demand, and demand lives on dissatisfaction. If people were content, they would buy less. We wouldn't want that, would we? That would be a disaster to the economy if people just stopped being unhappy. We need you to be unhappy. We need you to keep yearning. So what does the system do in order to combat this? The system keeps us yearning. Let me read you something from the World Health Organization. It says here, while most countries have seen a steady decline in suicide rates, the United States has witnessed the opposite, with suicides jumping almost 17% since 2000. They are richer, yet they're suffering more. Antidepressant use climbs year after year, alongside consumer spending. Isn't that suspicious? No, not at all. Because what the system is only doing is, it's making people miserable through the conditions the system itself created. Then, instead of fixing those conditions, it hands out drugs, which they themselves sell by the way, to numb out the misery. They adjust people so they can endure a reality that would otherwise feel unbearable. That's not suspicious at all. It's also not suspicious that we humans derive happiness from social comparison. This is true. The Egyptians during the 2011 Arab Spring had the best living standards up to that point, yet they were protesting. The average Egyptian was living a much more comforting and lavish life than all of their pharaohs combined. Even the elites of Europe, all of their medieval kings, did not have the food variety, healthcare, shelter, and leisure that the average Egyptian had. But why were they protesting? Because the Egyptian citizens were comparing themselves to the United States, the most prosperous nation the world had ever seen up to that point. In a way, social media does the same thing to us by making us compare ourselves with others until everyone's life feels lacking. It's almost genius how they keep creating problems they sell the solutions to. It's come to the point that even I, myself, in a way kind of admire it. It is
glorious. To be happy is not to have more. You already live better than kings. Your food, your shelter, your medicine, all greater than the elites of centuries past. Yet you are still restless. Yet you are still wanting. Yet you are still empty. Are you so much a spoiled piece of shit? Fuck luxury. Happiness is the rebellion against endless yearning and against the system that feeds on your dissatisfaction. To be happy is to be content. 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 Gibril for all.